Welcome to the show.
Else to say.
I ain't gonna say it no more.
Anyway, mic check. What's up, everybody? We are back. Desmond's back. Bryan's back.
Shady's back.
Joshua Freeman is back. You said Shady's back?
Yeah.
Anyway, so how you guys doing? Don't forget about the timestamps in the description below. Yeah, check them out. But the question we have on the docket today: why are people more forgiving in our friendships than relationships? What do you guys think? Okay. So.
Cool. So initially, when I put the question, I forgot what podcast I was listening to, or what TED Talk, or whatever lecture I was listening to. And then when we went back to revisit the topic today, I was thinking, is that actually true? Are we more forgiving in our friendships and relationships? Like, the question has an implicit assumption that we are. So does that even hold true for you guys? Would you say that you're more forgiving in your friendships than you are in your relationships?
What do you think, Desmond?
No, I definitely think you are. I feel like there's less expectations in a friendship, so there's not really room to be left down or be disappointed. Whereas in a relationship, I mean, you kind of open yourself up on levels that, you know, potentially you never open yourself up to with your friends, unless it's like you're really good friends, you know, then definitely relationships over friendships. As far as like, you're more likely to be disappointed or forgiving in a friendship over a relationship. And when I say relationship over friendship, I meant that like
in relation to the
expectation
question.
wise, there's always going to be more in a relationship than the friendship.
Okay. But
I came to a very similar conclusion, because the stakes are higher in a relationship, because the other person's actions, they more directly affect you. Whereas with a friendship, most times it's just like you guys hanging out or doing something really casual. It's not so that you're not coordinating your lives together with one another.
And I also think that, kind of similar to what you finished it off with, like, in a relationship, we're very, very likely to place our expectations on someone, expecting them to live up with it. Whereas with like friends, you're really you don't really expect nothing from your friends. Like, I enjoy casual conversations with my boys. I'll play Xbox with them. I'll do whatever it may be at that given time. But there's never like a expectation. And I mean, not to say that we need to keep like expectations in relationships, because expectations can, you know, be the driving force between.
You said there's no expectations in relationships?
No, he's saying that the expectations are higher in relationships than friendships.
Yeah. I'm saying that we should kind of, as like a society, like stray away from expectations, because I think it's always going to lead to disappointment, because someone could do something, you know, that you like, but because it's not how you wanted it to be, there's still like a level of disappointment. And there's always going to be, I feel like, disappointment with the expectations, because nobody's ever going to do it exactly how you do it. I think there just needs to be that appreciation, kind of like how it is in friendships. Like, you never really expect nothing in a friendship, but when something happens, you just learn to appreciate it. Whether you vocalize it or not, you keep kind of going back to, you know, those same patterns. Like, I know if I'm up playing with my boys on Xbox, I appreciate something that went on during that time frame, whether it's like the continuity of just like decompressing for the day, or we're going on like a, you know, 5 or 10 game winning streak. I'm appreciating that, because it's allowing me to, you know, distract myself from reality of life. And I might not come out and be like, hey, you know, I really appreciate, you know, the time we spend with each other. It might not be physical time, but, you know, we're still on the game playing. You know, you guys make everything a little bit more easier. Like, that's something you might not come out and say, but when you sit back and you actually, you know, analyze what's going on, they play a big part in, you know, helping you diffuse. Whereas like in a relationship, when you kind of have like a expectation, or it's like, okay, I know what bothers me, I would like for you to help me this way. And if you don't help me in that way of what I've seen previously work, then it can breed expectation. And the reason why I say that is because there's not an expectation for you to, you know, for your friends to help you do something. It's just something that naturally happens. So if it's something that has naturally happened, then how can you expect someone that, you know, you're in a relationship with to just fulfill that desire the same way, when the original desire wasn't even planned?
I don't think that we should do away with expectations. just because of the fact that it leads to disappointment. Because otherwise, if you don't have expectations, you don't know when you're at where you want to be. That's how we set standards and goals. And I do believe that standards and expectations are present in friendships too. That's why we're let down by people. To a lesser degree, sure.
I think what you're getting at can exist without expectations, though. I think that literally just boils down to you guys having the conversation of where do you want to be.
In which dynamic?
As far as a relationship. Like, where do you see each other at as far as how the relationship flows, what it feels like, what do you seek, and then where you want to be. Like, you can have those conversations with somebody and just watch over time how they, elevate to that status. But if you kind of like have this conversations where you kind of talk about your goals, and then you're just from that point forward looking at them, watching, waiting to see what energy or effort they're putting in to help fulfill those goals. And not saying that that's not necessarily a bad thing, because maybe you value yourself that way to where you're saying like, okay, I'm saying that I want us to reach this goal and I'm putting in forth this effort. If you say that, then now you're looking at something that is matching that effort, and that person might not be able to match the effort in the way that you're exhibiting it. So that's what the expectation is.
So they need to find someone who can match that effort.
Either that or talk to the person. Figure out what they're doing to match that goal. Because I know there's plenty of times, like in my relationship, where I'll set forth or put forth energy to accomplish something in the way I see it. And then she'll put forth effort into accomplishing the same exact thing. I just won't see it that way. Like, I know the simplest thing I could do is like, so to avoid like drama or mishap, I won't always go out. And that's just like my expectation to where I see where I want to go in the relationship. Like, I know that the party life, I enjoyed it, in my late teen and very early 20s. Like, it was hella fun. But at 25, it's not where I want to be. Whereas she sees, the party life is like, not necessarily essential to life, but it's something that she still wants to do. Mm-hmm. So instead of saying like, well, the relationship's not going to work because I'm still going to decide that I want to go out and have a drink with my friends, I'll communicate. Like, hey, I know that, might not be what you want me to do, but at least I could do to compensate for that is communicate, let you know where I'm at, let you know when I'm coming home, like just to compensate for, what you might perceive as disappointment. Mm-hmm. And you might like over time just think it'd be like, damn, like I said I wanted to go this way and she didn't go that route. But what she did was she tried to meet you in the middle of what her standard and expectations for her life would be. And I think you gotta like just come to respect that. Because expectations without respect is just going to lead to disappointment. And the whole respect aspect is respecting that person's decision that they make. And you can either agree to disagree, or you can kind of, sit back, think about it, do a little bit of recollection, and then say, okay, I see what you're doing. This minor change that you're making to your, your life to compensate for me can potentially lead to bigger, compromises that are more fruitful in the long run. Mm-hmm. And I think that's like one of the biggest things that I've had to learn just over the past, year alone, because I think like when you have these expectations, but you want to be with someone, it like beats you down to the point to where you're developing insecurities within. You kind of develop that, if I'm willing to make these changes, why isn't that person willing to make the changes? And those are all just expectations at the end of the day, like when you actually strip everything away from it.
But is that really bad? Because if you're evaluating yourself and know your self-worth in a particular situation, and you see the effort isn't being matched, I think that's a point where expectations need to be in place.
I think it's bad for you because it's bad for you in two ways. One, you're devaluing yourself, and that's never devaluing.
No, I just said by knowing your value. So by valuing yourself, you're devaluing yourself.
No. So I get what you're saying, but I'm not necessarily got to that point. I'm saying You're devaluing yourself because you're beginning to question your worth in the relationship because expectations are not being met. That's what I mean by that. So you begin to start devaluing yourself, which is the first flaw. But I think the second flaw is also associated with the devaluing, where you're placing your expectations on someone else. And I think that's where like the recognition of the fault within comes. Like, I kind of feel like if you just take it for what it is, acknowledge and understand, and then go somewhere, and then go, you know, in the direction you want to go, then I feel like that's where, you know, valuing yourself comes in. You can either come back and say, like I said before, you realize your self-worth, you know what you want to stand for, you know what you believe in, and move on. Or you can also say, okay, I understand that at 25, 24, 23, 22, people do want to live their life. They're not trying to be tied down just yet, because they know once it's time to be tied down, that's what they got to stick to. They got to stick to their script. And then the second that it switches up, then it's like, oh, well, are you cheating? Are you not enjoying the relationship anymore? Like, what's going on? Why is it all going bad all of a sudden? But that's my take on it. I know it's open for a lot of like criticism, because I know, you know, just myself, I like to place expectations because I don't like being disappointed, but I also feel like at the same time I also realize that it's not somebody else's job to live up to my expectations. It's their job to live up to their own. And you just got to find somebody that's compatible with those same expectations, to where they kind of just, you know, organically mesh together.
Right. I feel like it's not their responsibility to, per se, live up to your expectations, but it's your responsibility to yourself to find someone who meets your expectations.
Exactly.
So taking more accountability for it.
But in that same sentence, though, I'm going to say that people don't always grow at the same rate. So it's important to take that into consideration when, you know, people are making decisions that match their expectations. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't be mad at somebody for living up to what they expect at that given time, or what they expect from themselves at that given time. Like, I think you kind of got to realize that, you know, people always show you examples of exemplifying their free will, and I feel like we always feel that we have the ability to change someone or influence decisions. Mm-hmm. And that's where ultimatums come into effect. And one thing that I've also learned is, like, there's no place in a relationship for ultimatums, because you're forcing someone to make a decision that they might not be, you know, in the right frame of mind to make, or you're going to force them to make a decision that they don't want to make. And then they're going to constantly live with that insecurity of not, you know, staying true to themselves.
Yeah, if you have to coerce somebody to make a decision, is that like a real relationship?
Exactly.
Because from my understanding, a real relationship is based off free will. They're making an active decision to choose you consistently. Yeah. But you did bring up something else. I also noticed that we have the desire to change people who we seek romantic relationships with, but we don't do the same thing with our friends. We're way more accepting of just people we have friendships with. Yeah. Like, I don't sit up here late at night thinking about, oh, well, I wish Josh would edit the video this way, or why does he do this, or I wish he wouldn't wear leather jackets and talk with a New York accent. You know, we don't do stuff like that. But with the people who we date, he was getting the stress out because of the New York shots and stuff. Like, he's getting ready to, anyhow. But yeah, we don't place those expectations. I think that in conjunction with the fact that we're more accepting of our friends than we are in our relationships, that leads to those expectations being failed, I would say.
Interesting. As I hear you talk, I was about to go back on my original point, because I was like, okay, you're making a good point. But I originally thought that I think we're more forgiving in our relationships than our friendships, because I feel we're more susceptible to just let our friendships go, whether we're just like, yeah, okay. I mean, I don't know how often you guys talk to you guys' best friends. Well, I mean, I don't talk to my best friend, not always. I can go 6 months without talking to my best friend, and then pick up, and then we talk, and we're just like, oh, what's up? Like, you good? Like, what's going on? Like, so I don't know how often you guys talk to your best friends, but I feel like we're more susceptible to be like, okay, that the whole friendship can fix itself, while the romantic part, while the romantic relationship, we're trying to make sure that it doesn't go bad. We're more forgiving because we don't want that to end, because it's basically a source of our happiness. I feel that's how I was looking at it. You get what I'm saying?
That's the same reason I say that it's the opposite way.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I was going back on it. That's how
you were making solid points until you said the relationship is the source of your happiness.
That's why I was going back when I heard you talk.
I was actually about, right when you finished your talk or your point before you chimed in, I was going to think, like, one thing that really made me adjust how I view relationships is what Will Smith said about Jada.
Yeah.
When he was like, he came to the point where he finally realized that his happiness was not her responsibility. When he said, like, he realized that his happiness is his responsibility, and that within the marriage or relationship, you come together to celebrate and like kind of, you know, synchronize
each other's happiness.
Yeah, celebrate each other's happiness. Like you guys come together and you mesh and everything is organic and you appreciate it. Whereas like if you have like that source of happiness, then that
you don't think that relationship is not at all any source of that happiness that you feel? You think?
I think it's happiness in the sense of accomplishment. Like you're fulfilling what you legally abided yourself to do.
Accomplishment. Okay.
It's an addition to your lifestyle. Yeah. It should never be. It's a compliment, not something that completes you. That's the way I look at it. Because if you're able to be happy by yourself and you're happy with someone else when they're out of the picture, sure, you ain't missed the person, but you're still able to function. You're still comfortable with yourself. You're still happy with yourself.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people don't realize too. They think that the source of the happiness is within that other person in the relationship and stuff like that too. So I got you. Yeah, that's why I was going back when I heard you talking about it. I was like, oh wait, it doesn't? Like
and the reason why I also say friendships is because you can apologize in a friendship and you guys kind of like pick things back up. I feel like sometimes in a relationship when you know something happens that breaks trust or whatever it may be, rebuilding that trust and truly forgiving that person takes, you know, months. It's not one of those things to where...
As far as friendship?
No, relationship.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, with friendship, you can typically, you know, like you said, kind of give it time and then come back and, you know, talk about it later. I think like in a relationship, it takes a long time to truly forgive somebody. Like you can sit here and say like, okay, I forgive you, just for the sake of saying it, but deep down, like you're constantly, and not everybody will have this, but you'll constantly keep thinking about, is this person living up to their word? When they said that they apologize, did they really mean it? And if they said that they apologize, then why are certain actions still happening? And then you kind of develop that you need to live up to, you know, the expectation you set. Whereas a person can come back and acknowledge that they're sorry. That doesn't mean that they really need to rearrange or readjust how they're living their life. They just need to make sure that they don't fall into the same, you know, predicaments. Because people can do the same stuff and avoid what caused trust to break. That's just, you know, self-awareness and self, you know, preservation at the end of the day. Whereas if you're going into the, you know, same environment making the same mistakes, then you're just apologizing because, you know, that's what the other person likes to hear.
Do you guys think it's different within genders? Like, do you think women is more forgiving in relationships than friendships?
Hold on. Are they? So if you were to ask this question to a woman, would she say that she's more forgiving in her friendships?
Yeah. Do you feel in general that women are more forgiving?
I do feel they're more forgiving
in relationships rather than friendships.
Or no, I'm not comparing across relationships and friendships, but in general, I would say
just in general.
In terms, so like I've had guy friends who say like, if my girl cheated on me, then that was it. Like I wouldn't want her back.
I think women definitely are more forgiving in relationships than friendships, though.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like, I was thinking more of the.
I always think of women fighting their friends a lot.
Exactly.
But they always fight them and then they become friends again. I've seen that a lot. Like women will fight their. I think it's one of those things to where they release the tension. Like with women. There are women that are very, very confrontational, but they're confrontational based on the same reasons that we're confrontational. It's like that pride thing. Like you want to, you know, let someone know that, you know, your shit don't stink. Mm-hmm. But I think once it's actually like released and they kind of realize, okay, what we were fighting about was stupid to begin with. They come back and, because women are very good rationalizers. They have that, they're really good at rationalizing. I think that releasing that tension allows them to rationalize after the fact and then come back and, you know, say like apologize, because women will apologize before a man will, and the fact that women are, you know, willing to apologize and genuinely mean it because they have that chance to rationalize, it allows for more, you know, makeups. Whereas like men will beef and we'll get into fights and then we won't speak to the person no more.
It's funny because I've always heard the opposite, and I've seen like growing up in school and stuff like that, the guys would fight, like throw hands. Then they'd be cool like the next day. I didn't see that with women, so we have different experiences.
You ever see that at Great Bridge? No, I don't think we ever see that.
I didn't see that. I went to Hugo.
I'm sorry, you're not Great Bridge. You ever see that at high school?
No, I definitely saw that.
I've never seen that at high school.
When I lived in Japan, I saw two dudes get into a fight and like they dapped each other up, but they never spoke after that. Like it was like a respect thing. Like I respect.
Yeah,
what
I don't see two guys being friends after they just try to throw hands with each other.
I think after they throw hands, they may or may not develop a respect for each other. But I've never seen them like become friends after it.
Yeah,
I've seen it.
You from the country though, man. All y'all do out there is throw hands out there.
Not even.
Yeah, I got it. But yeah, I was just wondering if there was any difference across gender, because I felt like that example of them turning against their friend for the being more forgiving to their male boyfriend. So, but yeah, you have anything to add, Bryan?
No, I would rather have a first-hand account for that.
As far as
like asking the actual girl how she feels about that.
That's what I was gonna say too. We always bring up like women's perspectives with no women present.
I know.
I feel like it doesn't respect the opinion just as because they're going to provide a different insight.
I do believe that is going more towards they're becoming more forgiving with friendships rather than relationships, though, because they're more cognizant of like, hey, you're not gonna play both of us. Like we gonna team up and go after the male rather than in this era anyway. We're gonna team up and go after the male rather than you fuck both of us and disrespect both of us. You know what I mean? So I feel women have definitely becoming more cognizant.
Not to invalidate anything we just said, but I just think, like, even if we don't revisit this as a entire episode, just in passing, maybe next time we have Leanne on or something like that, or one of the other women guests, then we just pose the question, because I'm just out of curiosity.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, but if nobody has anything to add, we're gonna wrap up this discussion, right?
So we don't have the car this time; we have the bottle.
Right.
You have an album of the week for us?
Do I got an album?
By any chance?
Yeah. Product of the Dope Game by Larry June.
Interesting.
Yo, that's crazy. I had never heard of him up until
he was at the EDL Fest.
No, it was on a song. I can't think, because Kevin Gates shouted him out, and I heard the name.
He reminds me of Dom Kennedy in the early early 2010s, late 2000s.
But you know what's crazy? He's been out for a while, hasn't he? Yeah. Because, like you just said, so when people were showing like their listening history, like how many hours of music they consume, somebody had like 50-something hours of his music.
But that's not, I mean, one thing that I just know from my own experiences, like I go to work and I'll just put an album on.
Right.
Like mine, I had like 92 hours of Nipsey, and that's because whole first half of the year I would just have it on show or have it on repeat at work.
That's my point exactly.
And then after that it was Future with like 42. I mean,
but my point was the fact that he's only been on my radar for this long, but he already has somebody who likes him that much to listen to him for 52 hours. That means he's already established. It's just that I wasn't aware.
Yeah. But yeah, you guys check it out though. Also, if you guys like the discussion we had today, don't forget to hit the like button, okay?
Subscribe too.
Yeah, subscribe. Why not, right? Good discussion. But yeah.
Ask questions.
Of course. But yeah, we're going to see you guys next week. All right? Yeah. Peace.
Happy Thanksgiving.